Well, good morning and welcome to Cooper's Rock State Forest in West Virginia.
Yes.
I did that right,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes.
What brings us here? Well, actually, you hopefully have now seen the tail end of the Acadia series. It was an absolutely amazing series. Quite a few videos, at least 8, maybe 9. I'm currently editing one now, and it's a little long. I'm either going to have to kill some babies and reduce some of the B-roll, or I'm going to have to split it into 2. Anyway, we came here because this was almost the same route we started our whole northeastern trip on. And what we realized is, we actually said in the beginning of that series, we blasted through the area that we see all the time, but actually when we were en route, we realized we always say that, and we haven't spent enough time just inside that northern West Virginia, kind of tip of Maryland, and that portion of Pennsylvania. Everything we've done in Pennsylvania is just like 2 hours further away, or anywhere, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, it's just a little bit further. We seem to always skip through here, and a lot of our West Virginia fun is a little bit south of here. So anyway, I have a whole series of pins to go explore, and this was one of those areas. We actually began this morning in the dark, and we went out to Cooper's Rock Overlook for what we hoped would be a beautiful sunrise. It was a beautiful place to experience sunrise, but not a beautiful place to capture it. It was tricky compositionally, and also it's not situated really well for sunrise. It's very much a sunset location. So if you were going to visit and you wanted to do sunrise, which I would recommend because we had the place completely to ourselves, I would go just a little bit further down the road to Ravens Rock. It's a little bit further of a hike out, and because of the snakes and things, make sure you wear a headlamp in case snakes come out and lay on the path at night, which happens. But anyway, I think you would be situated better to look down at the river and kind of look down the valley for sunrise. Anyway, we're done with at least for sure photos. We're going to be doing hiking now. You've got a whole loop set up for us, probably going to be about 7 miles or so, kind of intertwining a couple of different trails. We're beginning on Rhododendron Trail? Rhododendron. I messed that up. It's the state flower, and it's one that we, when it's not flowering, we often mistake for like a magnolia bush or tree. So I'm kind of excited to see because they're blooming. You can't see it, but I can see they're blooming, and I'm liking the flowers against sort of those bluish green, waxy, thick leaves. Anyway, I might end up with some photos of those, I'm sure, because they do look beautiful. I think that's enough. Today's supposed to be bluebird skies, so I don't know how much I'm going to get those moody forest scenes, but we'll see. Who knows? Who knows what it's going to bring us? Here we go. Sure why we'd want to do this one. It's not much a trail. Spiders now.
I'm trying.
I know you've been in the video now for several minutes, but welcome to the video that darn near didn't happen. In fact, if we had not had such a good time and me wanting to do a review there of Cooper's State Forest, right?
Cooper's Rock.
Cooper's Rock State Forest. I almost forgot because it's now been a few weeks since we were there. Anyway, I don't know that I'd done it. So you say, why first? Well, let me dive into that. Camera issue after camera issue that I didn't discover until I got back here. Here meaning home.
Yep.
And I do apologize for what I know is probably a tremendous amount of reverb and sort of echo. Our house is pretty minimalist and it's smooth surfaces everywhere.
Yes.
I never really intended to do a whole bunch of videos here at home. So anyway, enough of that. First thing is I have now given up on my GoPro Hero 9. I used it quite a bit on the all of the Northeast footage, and the odd thing is I couldn't be happier with the footage I get from it. But I've given up on it because what I thought was an issue with the media module, and then later got replaced, started to come back. It's just lockup after lockup, screen lockup. I don't know whether it's going to work. The only way I bring it back is to disassemble, unplug the battery, plug the battery back in. It may work, it may not.
Right.
So just because I don't want to now pack it and my Osmo Action. Anyway, I've gone back to the Osmo Action because at least every time I hit record, it records.
It'll record.
It comes on and it works. So anyway, GoPro Hero 9 out. DJI Osmo Action, the camera that I started this entire channel with, is now back in. The reason I left that DJI Osmo Action for this channel was because it just does very poorly in dark light. I also think I might be onto a memory card issue with that one. I think I picked too cheap a card. It has been really hurting my bit rate. I'm going to do some tests with that. But anyway, it's back in. And because I just sort of suddenly grabbed it before this video, I didn't check the settings, and I had the manual frame rate set for, I just screwed it up. So even though it was dark when we started, the footage was all darker than it should have been. And the more I try to bring up the light from that camera, the more it falls apart and looks ugly. So hopefully you still got the idea, even though it was a little dark.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I'm now using the Z7 II for this, and that is what I carried for all of the photos that you saw on that hike. And I actually rented, back when we went to Death Valley, I rented a Z7 II, and I had purchased a memory card for the camera I'm on. I'd already ordered one, but it wasn't going to make it in time for that trip, so I rented one from Lens Rentals. And then I noticed some of my photos on the XQD card had sort of this rainbow stripe, and I was having problems with it. Yeah, it was doing some really flaky things. And anyway, when I got my camera in, I put that card in there, didn't think much of it, but I ended up using, just because it's more convenient, I was putting both video and my photos in RAW on the little SD card, not really using the features of the XQD. But because I'm shooting 4K now, and especially 4K 60 for some of the slow-mo footage, I wanted to go back to the XQD. Lo and behold, here comes all those problems again, now on 2 cameras. Anyway, I'm getting really long-winded, but the outro, our entire conversation at the end of that video didn't work either. So I now have a new card, and I hope this is working. This will be, I think I have a bad XQD card because it actually went across 2 cameras. Anyway, enough rambling on the camera stuff. Anyway, the hike. Yes. We ended up on that day with just under 6 miles.
Yep.
And it was about 1,500 feet of elevation descent and ascent. The thing about it was it took about 2/3 to 3/4 of the trail to get down.
Yep.
And it felt like 10 feet to get back up. Like when we started to come back up, by golly, was it going up.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful hike. The only complaint I have has nothing to do with the complaint of the place at all. It's we really love that rhododendron.
Yes.
I love those plants, but one of the things, man, a Sasquatch could be 3 feet from you. Like it gets so dense in some places that you can't see anything just on the other side of you. So it's interesting. You pop out and you're in a really nice gorge or hollow, and sometimes I was a little frustrated because I knew I could hear water running, I could hear a waterfall, but I couldn't see it. in some cases you could hear it loudly. It's right next to me, but I couldn't get to it. But overall, it was a beautiful hike. I really enjoyed it. We had that trail to ourselves. We did not see a soul until 8:30 in the morning. Correct. Even on a Saturday. The next couple that we saw was at 9:30. Yep. And then at 10:30. It was chaos. It was just people. I don't blame them for being out. So it's another one of those. If you're an early riser, I think you'd have an amazing time. And not that it got bad. Everyone was wonderful.
Oh yeah.
Just if you're wanting to do photography and some of the things I want, you definitely want to get there early, midday, even if it was cloudy. I think you deal with a lot of people.
Yes.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about before I wrap everything up with that place is Tentrr. Yep. And not so much Tentrr, but glamping and the concept of it, glamping in general. So I'll reiterate, I do not have a problem with the company, organization, or whoever runs. I don't know if it's state run or whatever, but Tentrr. Tentrr.
Yes.
And the idea here of this glamping or everything is that you basically show up with your food and some bedding.
Correct.
And you get a really nice tent with a queen bed, some end tables. They have cooking facilities. They have everything basically.
Cooking, potty.
Some sort of bio
composting.
Potty.
And
something
then,
like that.
Solar shower, and basically everything you would need for a weekend to camp.
Right.
Without having to set anything up.
Without having to do anything, you can basically show up. I mean, I think you'd still camp in. I think you'd still have quite a bit. So. You ended up seeing it early on in the B-roll, and I'll try to post a link, or I'll put a link directly to that again in the description down below. But you saw a tent out in the woods, and when we first started that trail, there was a whole series of those tents. They were either in the middle of construction or deconstruction to move.
Yeah.
We actually think it was the latter because we did our wrap up in another area of the park to avoid some people where it would be more quiet, and it looked like they were moving them over there.
They had places marked, and they were over there. Yeah.
So Alana and I had a really nice conversation on the trail, and we wanted to really recap on a synopsis of it because we ended up on different sides, or lightly on different sides of the fence to whether we like the concept of glamping or not.
Right.
And I think I'm a little further on my side of the fence of I wish it'd go away. I don't like the idea. I kind of see what you're trying to do, but I feel like it's a misfit. And you ended up a little bit on the other side.
Yeah, I see more positive side of it because if you like the camping atmosphere, but yet don't want to have to take the time to set everything up, load everything up, all you got to take is your food and your bedding, you're fine.
And I can see that. Even if you have those things,
right?
Because you're camping. Sometimes, like for us, we just choose a hotel.
Right.
I could see where you could say, I'm just gonna do this.
Right.
It's expensive though. It's hotel cost.
$85 to $100 a night, depending on, and they have them multiple places throughout the states.
Yeah, it's not just specifically this park. So don't let me muddy that either.
Pennsylvania, New Jersey.
This is a thing that's growing popularity due to the resurgence of people going back out into the parks, both between COVID and I actually think social media has brought a lot of people back into wanting to experience places, and that's kudos to all the photographers that are taking images that are inspiring people to get out. My issue is the hiking trail immediately after the last tent on Tentrr was noticeably better, at least as far as hiking.
The problem is that they were using a gator, or
a 6x6, like a UTV type vehicle,
to move items in and out instead of carrying them, wheelbarrow or anything. So it was widening out the trail and making it muddy. They would put rocks in to try to help with the mud and the water.
But it was the large ankle twisting rocks.
Yeah, big rocks, and they weren't compacted down, so you have to watch where you're walking. But
it really took from almost the first mile of the hike. We were on almost a 6 foot wide and trying to figure out whether we're going to walk the hump or a tire track. It didn't feel like, I just didn't like it. The other thing is, and this is bad on my part, I'll acknowledge, but I'm getting a little stingy with who I want to share locations with. Like I know I spoke in another video about at least loosely sharing locations because that inspiration is a wonderful thing. But in all fairness, the point that I made in that video that I'll make again is that we enjoy the outdoors. We spend a lot of time in the outdoors. We hike and we do everything. But no matter where I'm at and how how far remote we get.
Correct.
There is evidence of humans left behind.
Everywhere.
There is more than footsteps
Yes.
left behind. There's trash, there's
Rock
vandalisms,
stacking.
there's rock stacking, there's all these things from people that I would like to believe they just don't know any better.
Correct.
I want to put the good in people, because you've come out to enjoy nature. You probably just don't know that rock stacking or doing so. I mean, it's
Right.
hard to think that spray painting something you didn't know
Is
better.
equivalent to rock
But we
stacking.
see it all the time. We see people that end up out there and then abuse it. And I'm a little stingy with the idea of bringing people that aren't even willing to make the investment in what it takes to pack in and pack
Correct.
out.
Correct.
I don't want to bring them into the woods. Like, I want you to buy into it. I want you to have to work for it. Like, I have to work for the images.
Right.
You still don't see that.
I see that point of view, but I don't wholeheartedly agree.
That's fine. So we ended up being curious. That's where it's
Yes.
at. You
Yeah.
honestly, you're not here because I talk too much when I turn the camera on.
Yes.
But you kind of countered every one of my points. And at the end, we were very curious. What do you think about the idea of glamping? Please reach out in the comments down
Tentrr,
below and
yes.
let us.
Yeah.
The idea. That's why I don't want to keep harping on.
So there's glamping and there's Tentrr. Glamping is something a little bit higher than what Tentrr actually is.
Okay, so really
Yes.
the whole concept of paying your way into
a
an
tent.
epic tent site
There you go.
on
Okay.
a hiking trail. Is that fine?
That works.
So that's really it. Cooper's Rock State Park. You could really intermix a lot of mileage there.
Oh, yes.
There's short hikes and big hikes, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually could see us revisiting.
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing about that rhododendron plant is that it holds that green color even into the winter months. And I will
Yes.
tell you that when the hardwoods and even some of the softer maples and things, when they drop their leaves and those orange bright leaves are in contrast to that kind of buttery, waxy green blue,
Yeah.
it's really very pretty in conjunction with the water. So it would be a really cool place to visit in the fall.
Yep.
Due
And
to
they
the
do
elevation.
cross-country skiing too, trails. So for winter.
Yeah, there was skiing right there. So there's actually a lot of
Quite a
activity
bit,
in the park that I would recommend. So anyway,
Yes.
I thought this was going to be a short video, but now I've rambled between camera problems in this for quite some time. So hopefully you found value in this video
Yes.
that almost didn't happen. Like I say, comment, subscribe, do all those things.
Share.
Thanks. We will see you. Actually, we're going to start another video tonight. We're going
Yes.
back out. So you'll have to
Yeah.
check in later to know what that is.
Okay.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.